right, it's 9 o'clock, and I will call the regular meeting of the Paulding County Airport Authority to order in the absence of Chairman Thompson, who had some other business to tend to today. I wasn't anything about Mr. Ernie not being here. We'll be done. The first item of business is approval of minutes from August 19th meeting. You received a copy of those. Anybody noted errors or omissions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for August the 19th.
I have a motion by Mayor Debbie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I
Unanimous.
abstained since I wasn't here.
All right. Note the abstention of Mr. Aston. Everybody coming to the door got me off my order of welcoming folks. I'm glad to have our elected officials and visitors here. We have two visitors who came all the way from England to the Paulding County Airport Authority. Darcy, you want to introduce them?
Yes, these are my friends from England. It's Karen Carter and her husband Alan Carter. And we hadn't seen each other in 17 years, so they're here right now spending 3 days with me, and I'm real excited.
You haven't changed a bit, right?
I'm going to try to get them to move here by October the 5th to register to vote.
All right. Next item is the approval of the financial statement.
You have two other elected officials.
Yeah, Commissioners Pownell and Carmichael. You received a copy of those. Anybody note any errors or omissions? Or note any changes?
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Blake, I got a question under professional fees, engineering, surveying. What was that for, do you recall?
Let me find it.
About halfway down.
6270.
2168.
Under professional fees, engineering and survey, that is, that's the environmental assessment. Environmental assessment's under a grant with the Federal Radiation Administration. However, we have the 5% that we're responsible for. So that's the portion that we've paid so far this year out of our 5% that we're required to pay.
Okay, then under equipment repair, they had like a minus $3,000 something. Is that like a credit back or?
Is that an insurance reimbursement or whatever on the negative 3108?
I would assume it's an equipment reimbursement. We have our accountant. There he is.
Texting D right now to find out exactly what that is.
Okay. That seems like the most logical explanation. When Chuck gets an answer, I will forward it out to all the board members.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the financial statement? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. FBO report.
Well, Joe's not here this morning. He has a charter aircraft coming in, so he had to stay at the airport to handle the charter aircraft coming in. King Air 200, so it's a nice airplane coming in this morning. Nonetheless, you should have his report in your backup documentation. Just hitting the highlights: 1.74 transactions daily for the last month, 114 takeoffs, 110 landings, 180 touch and goes, and 31 visitors to the building. You'll notice the 31 visitors to the building is a much larger number than what we usually have. We usually have 5 or 10 or so visitors to the building, and I wanted to explain that real quick. In that first paragraph there below that, it says he hosted the Royal Navy for 4 days, so I thought I might ought to explain a little bit about that. The British Royal Navy actually was headed over to from Norfolk, Virginia. They brought some helicopters in, brought them by boat, of course, and docked in Norfolk, Virginia, and they were going to take those helicopters from Virginia to California to do desert training for 30 days. So as they plotted their course, they had talked with some of the local military folks in our area, and they suggested that they come through our location to get fuel and food. So of the 3 helicopters, 2 of them came through and were only on the ground for about an hour, long enough to get fuel and get food and move on. However, the third one, when it came in, it had a maintenance problem. It had a malfunction, electrical malfunction, and they lost all their radios in the helicopter. So obviously they couldn't continue traversing across the country without any radios. So they ended up spending 4 days with us. They had to order parts that had to come from England. So I don't know what FedEx was doing, but it took them a while to get them here. So
Oh, no, overnight.
But they were with us for 4 days, and the lower enlisted folks actually slept in the pilot's lounge there in the terminal. The officers did stay in the hotels over at Hiram, but they seemed to very much enjoy their time here. And as a matter of fact, when they left, when they departed out to head on out to California, the commander of the unit actually called Shell Aviation, who is our fuel provider that we get fuel from. So we're branded as a Shell service location, and told the folks at Shell that it was actually the best service they had ever received from any airport that they had visited here in the United States, and told them that they would absolutely, for certain, be stopping in to get fuel on their way back to Virginia when they ferry the aircraft back to the port to stick them back on the boat. So since Joe's not here this morning, I can blow his head up since he's not here. But they did a fantastic job. They catered to those guys. Obviously, they had to make sure they had food, make sure they had transportation, make sure they had hotel rooms, make sure they had some entertainment. They went and played golf a couple of days. They had a good time while they were here. But Joe did just a fantastic job of hosting those guys. And of course, that wasn't planned. They just got here and the helicopter was broken, and Joe went out of his way to make sure that they had what they needed and were able to at least enjoy their time while they were here. So wanted to just explain those 31 visitors, because that is a lot more visitors than what we typically have to the terminal in a month's time.
I recommend we write Joe a thank you letter for what an awesome job he did. From the board.
And please include Gentry in on that, because I'm sure she had a lot to do with it.
They're a good team.
Yes, they are.
All right, airport director's report.
All righty, got a whole host of things we're going to go through just really quickly this morning, and if you have any questions on them or want me to expand on any of them, I'd be glad to. Going to start off with the wildlife issue. This is something that we've been talking about for quite a while now. Over the last month, we've had numerous reports of deer on the runway. We had some reports the last couple of days of coyotes on the airport. And last week we did have an airplane actually hit a turkey. The airplane was fine, no damage to the airplane. The turkey didn't fare so well. We have had 2 aircraft that had to abort takeoffs in order to have somebody from the FBO come out and shoot turkeys off, so that they made sure that they didn't have a similar situation. So wildlife activity continues to be a real issue for us. The environmental assessment. The environmental assessment's moving along pretty well. Last month I reported we had submitted Chapter 3, I think, to the FAA, had got comments back, and we're addressing those comments. At this point we've addressed those comments. We've submitted Chapter 4, we've got comments back on Chapter 4, and we're addressing comments on Chapter 4. So continues to move along. No surprises in terms of
How many chapters?
There's 6 chapters. The last 2 chapters, 5 and 6, really don't contain anything of any real significance. Those are they're almost more appendixes as opposed to chapters. They contain things like lists of agencies that the document is submitted to and stuff like that. So in terms of the meat of the document, really 1 through 4 is the meat of the document. So we're glad that that's progressing as well as it is. Again, no surprises whatsoever in the findings so far, as far as noise or anything like that. It's pretty much as we expected. Next, airfield maintenance. Wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you to commissioners that we have in the room today: David Alston, Commissioner Pownell, Commissioner Carmichael. Some of you may know or may not know that the county transferred a tractor and a bush hog to the Industrial Building Authority. So we're able to use that with both the Industrial Building Authority and the Airport Authority to maintain grass in our industrial parks and at the airport. So it's an old tractor, but it's so far it's doing a really good job. So we've been able to do more grass cutting and more maintenance than what we were able to do previously when we were having to do it all by contract. So that's been a huge help to us, and thank you, gentlemen, for that equipment. It's being used very heavily, and we appreciate it. Also wanted to today give you a quick report on open records requests. Yolanda has started logging our open records requests just so that we'll have that information to refer to down the road. Year to date, we've received and responded to 42 open records requests. So that's a little more than one a week. So you know, it's tough to try to put a number on how much time we've spent responding to open records requests. Some of them take 15-20 minutes. Some of them take a day or two. So it's a little bit tough to translate that into time. But if you use just a conservative number and said 2 hours per open records request, that's about 84 hours. So two solid weeks of doing nothing but just responding to open records requests. So again, just want to catalog that data just so that we have it for future reference purposes. Next thing I wanted to mention is this Saturday, the 19th, is the movie on, I think they call it Flick on the Flatline?
Yes.
Flick on the Flatline out at the airport. They're expecting a couple thousand folks out there for that event. The movie is Home, which is a Disney movie. But I think what folks are probably most excited about is they're going to have 15 food trucks out there. So if you like to eat, which I do, and you like to try different types of food, even if you don't want to watch the movie, just swing by the airport Friday anytime after 5 and grab you some food.
Saturday.
7? I thought the trucks were in at 5. Saturday, okay, all right.
And
I'm gonna
admission
wax
is
up
free.
here some more.
What time is it?
5. So I had the time right.
The food trucks will be in Dallas, probably not the same ones on Friday as well, starting at 5.
There you go. So you got food trucks on Friday in Dallas, food trucks on Saturday at the airport.
Mr. Blake,
Yes,
that is free admission too.
free admission for the movie, correct. Food trucks are not free,
No.
but it's free admission to the movie.
And aren't there a bunch of nonprofits that are having booths?
Yes, there are.
Free for
We've
children.
got a number of different nonprofits that will be out there. I don't have a list of those, but if you want to know what those are, I'll be glad to get a list to you. And the last thing I was going to touch on is the hangar. We are this close to being done with the hangar. They're actually putting the final coat on the floor this morning. So spoke to the contractor late yesterday afternoon. They were there this morning when I went by, and he said they would be finished with the final coat on the floor by noon today. Take about 6 to 8 hours for it to dry, so don't go out this afternoon and walk across the floor to look at it. That would be a very bad thing. But if you want to come tomorrow to take a look at the floor, please feel free to do that. It's white and shiny. It looks very nice. So if anybody has questions on any of those, I'd be glad to elaborate.
Just
Yes.
on the wildlife issues,
Yes.
obviously that's continued to be a concern, but it looks like it, could be on the increase. And with just thinking about the increases in traffic and different hardware coming in here, I think it may be time for us to consider potentially stepping up some mitigation efforts on that into something that's a little more routine. There's several ways we can do that and go about it, and we can brainstorm. But I think it's probably time to do that. Because right now, I don't think we have anything that's routine enough to really push back the wildlife to a point of that we can accept that kind of risk. So if we're having aborted takeoffs and things like that are going on, and we had a turkey strike recently, then I think it's time to consider that.
Yeah, I will elaborate a little bit on that. Couple of things. Number one, the tractor that I mentioned with the bush hog is actually going to help. The turkeys like the tall grass, so they like to get out and hunker down in the tall grass. So if we can keep all the grass cut, that'll help us some with the turkeys. Next, we have gone ahead and applied to DNR for a permit to take some of those animals.
Good.
If it's outside of deer season, outside of turkey season, then we have to have a special permit to do that. So we have applied last week for that permit, so we are going to have to go ahead and start taking some of those animals. And then lastly, we're still using the pyrotechnics, but the pyrotechnics, quite frankly, they don't seem to help a whole heck of a lot. They help with some bird types. They help out with the buzzards, and they help out with some of the other birds, but they don't help at all with the deer and the coyote, because they tend to be out there kind of in the early mornings and the late evenings, and a lot of times it's either before we're there or after we're going. So obviously we can't be out shooting pyrotechnics when we're not there, so it doesn't help a whole lot with those. But ultimately, we definitely have seen an increase in wildlife activity. There's no doubt. I actually read an article that was put out by the FAA that actually stated that there's an increase in wildlife activity nationwide. And I don't know exactly why that would be, but the FAA has reported actually an increase in bird activity and other wildlife activity increase nationwide. So.
What time of day did the turkey strike occur, do you know?
It was, best I recall, it was mid-afternoon. The turkeys, they'll kind of linger around all day long if we don't go out and run them off. The coyote and the deer are definitely in the mornings and the evenings. The turkey, they can be out there any time of day. It doesn't matter, morning, middle of the day, afternoon, any time of the day.
We might just consider starting to track that too, so that we can, if we again end up having to apply for more support from DNR, if we have tracked it and we can show, what times of day the problems are, what the issues are, that'll help.
But we have notified all of our aircraft owners on the airfield to please email us whenever they have an issue with wildlife on the airfield. So a lot of times they forget because they're taking off and they're going somewhere, and they may be in the air for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and obviously they've got something to do wherever they're going. So by the time they get back, it could be 6 to 8 hours, it could be the next day. So a lot of times they do forget to notify us, but I keep trying to put that message out to them to make sure that they shoot me an email or a text or something whenever they have a wildlife issue, so that they do have some documentation.
And we have a current note that calls out wildlife activity on the report, being as caution.
We don't have a note. What we have is it's on the AWOS.
Okay,
FAA is
That's good.
kind of funny about the
They are.
NOTAMs on
No, that's
wildlife.
good. That's good. That's a good place to put it. Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else on the airport director?
All I got.
All right, it says we have a need for a closed session for real estate, personnel, and litigation. Is there a motion to go into executive session for those purposes?
I make a motion to go into closed session, discuss personnel, real estate, and litigation.
I have a motion on a second by Mayor Daly and Mr. Aston. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Shall return. Is there a motion to re-enter regular session
So moved.
with a note that no action was taken in executive session? Have that motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Any other business be brought before the airport authority this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion, or second, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, and we'll take about